Welcome to the best gambling show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Listen, week 15 player props coming your way. We got a list of 12 this week. And listen, I'm not trying to do a sell job. I don't need to do one. We've made some good money with the props this year. But I'm going to be honest about something. This is the best I felt about a player prop list going into a week. Let's get this money. Let's get to the first prop. First prop, we got Aaron, the game Rodgers, over 234.5 passing yards. Listen, this is a Jags defense that for me has fought hard the last 7-8 weeks. The first 4 weeks, they were absolutely pathetic. But I feel like the way to attack the Jags is spread them out, slang it on them, and Aaron Rodgers can do that. And it's funny, Rodgers had his best game in about 3 years, let's be honest about it, against the Dolphins. And it's funny because he's job hunting. His Jets career is over. He pretty much announced as much on the Pat McAfee show, I think 5 days before the Dolphins game. I think he comes out and has another good performance. Now, on paper, when you plug in Madden, you would think, oh, Jags have a good pass rush. They got Trayvon Walker. They got Josh Allen Hines. But in reality, when you watch the film, they don't put any pressure on the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers will have a nice day. Give me Rodgers over 234.5 passing yards. Next prop, we got Anthony Richardson. Under 187.5 passing yards. Listen, man, this is more about the Colts receiving core than it's about Anthony Richardson. I've actually seen some pleasant signs from him, but we know two things about him. He doesn't feel comfortable in the pocket, and the Broncos have a good pass rush. We know a second thing about him. He is wildly inaccurate, and we know a lot about these wide receivers. When Pittman Jr. is your best receiver, you just know you're not getting a lot of separation, and you need an extremely accurate quarterback. Unfortunately for the Colts, AR isn't that guy, and this is the Broncos defense that has a vicious pass rush, and I think their secondary will play with a chip on their shoulder after they got whooped by Jameis Winston. And also, we've seen the Colts, when Anthony Richardson is in the game, they're going to run it a lot. And he's going to get his 10 to 12 carries, and they're going to work Jonathan Taylor in the game. That's their only path to victory. I'm going under the 187.5 passing yards. Listen, if the Colts throw it for more than 200 passing yards, you know they're going to get their ass whooped in this game. Next prop, we got Mike Williams, Steelers, over 21.5 receiving yards. And I know George Pickens is out, but I think there's going to be a beneficiary. And I'm not low on Mike Williams like everyone else. I think his performance level has risen quite a bit since he went to the Steelers from the Jets. And when you got Austin, when you got Van Jefferson, when you got Freiermuth, man, I got to tell you, Russell Wilson only does one thing well, and that's throwing the deep ball. Out of all those guys I mentioned, who would you trust to catch a deep ball? Who's the best at high pointing a football out of that group of four? Give me Mike Williams. I think this one is rather simple. We don't need to elaborate. Russell Wilson throws about 5, 6, 7 deep balls a game. At least 2 or 3 of them have to go to Mike Williams. I'm going over the 21.5. He might even be able to do some work intermediate-wise. Over 21.5 for Mike Williams. Next prop, we got Sterling Shepard. Over 33.5 receiving yards. I love this one. What do the Chargers do on defense? They play a lot of too deep shell, and a lot of the space is underneath, and we know they're going to keep a safety over the top of Mike Evans, and we know they're not going to want that ball forced to Mike Evans, so I think Sterling Shepard is going to be a main beneficiary. Like, you could bet Cade, the tight end, over 38.5, whatever his is, but I like Sterling Shepard in this game. I think he's got an underrated chemistry with Baker Mayfield. I like Baker Mayfield props in this game. game, but I think Sterling Shepard is the guy I want to focus on. I'm going over 33.5. I think this is very, very low for him. I'd go up to 53.5 if anyone's looking at the alt lines. I think this is a game where if the game flow goes the way I think it will, I think the Bucks get to that 24, 27 point range, and I think that means this is a guaranteed over. Next prop, we got Gus Edwards under 40.5 rushing yards. Listen, there's 4 big reasons for this. Firstly, the Chargers just aren't running the ball well at all. Secondly, the Bucks can't stop the pass, but one thing they do well, and they've done for a long time, is they're very good against the run. Thirdly, I don't think Gus Edwards is any good anymore. Fourthly, I also like these periphery backup Chargers running backs more than I like Gus Edwards. I'm going under the 40.5 for Gus Edwards. Next prop, we got Alvin Kamara under 74.5 rushing yards. I just think this is a bad matchup, and it reminds me of when the Thursday night game, the last time we bet the under Kamara prop. It was against Denver with a backup quarterback in a bad situation against a pretty good defense, and I think he went like 12 carries for 6 yards. I absolutely love this under. I think it's one of the best picks of the week. And you got a Commanders defense that is playing better against the run. That will load up. You got Jacob Heine or Haney, whatever his name is. Either way, he just doesn't have a lot to throw to. Like, you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but other than that, what do you have to throw to? Olave, Shaheed aren't walking through that door, and I know we're talking about Kamara props, but he's got to make a business decision at a certain point. How much pain and suffering does he want to take for a lost cause? I'm going under the 74.5 rush yards for him. I think this is a terrible matchup. And also, the Saints O-line hasn't been good the whole year. Next prop, we got DeAndre Swift under 54.5 rushing yards. Listen, we've been going with D Swift under the whole year. Sometimes it's hit, sometimes it isn't. But you got Brian Flores and one of the best run defenses on Monday night. I think that's a terrible matchup for Swift, and I'm going the other way on him. Also, think, if you're Brian Flores, put yourself in his hoodie, that hoodie he wears, that vest he wears. Anyways, you guys get the idea. Put yourself in Brian Flores's chair right now. What do you want to do to attack the Bears? I know what I want to do. I want to stop the run, and I want to make Caleb Williams beat us. And I want to test this Chicago offensive line. The Chicago offensive line just isn't very good, and they're not very physical, and we know they're not well coached. Let Caleb Williams beat you. Let the Vikings run defense take over, and make him throw for 300. Let's see if he can do it. I doubt he can do it. I'm going under the 54.5 rushing yards for D Swift. Next prop, same game, Monday Night Football. We got Jordan Addison over 52.5 receiving yards. And ever since the Colts game, Addison has been going off. We know Justin Jefferson is getting a lot of attention, but Hawkinson's also getting attention as well. Aaron Jones is involved in the pass game, but I think Addison has been the star performer. I'm not saying he's better than Jefferson or anything like that, but you can obviously see Sam Darnold trust him, and this is a Bears secondary that seems to be going the wrong direction, and you got to think the Vikings are going to be able to run the ball, but they're going to have to bring up an extra safety, or they're going to have to focus on Justin Jefferson. We're going to be getting a lot of one-on-one plays with Addison, and he runs a lot of deep routes. We don't need a lot of catches to go over here. We can go over in 2 catches. I'm going over the 52.5 for Addison. I just think this is better value than the Jefferson or Hawkinson. Next prop, we got Bryce Young over 30.5 pass attempts. I think this is what Canales wants to do, and I know probably the in vogue prop play in this game is to go with Chuba Hubbard and go with, I think his props is over 81.5. That's too rich for my blood. This is a Cowboys front seven that has been fighting against the run a little bit better than earlier in the year. And I also think this Cowboys secondary has holes, and I just think Canales wants to prepare Bryce Young for next year. You're seeing him throw it, even with Panthers fans saying maybe they're throwing it a bit too much. Either way, that's none of our business. We're going over the 30.5 pass attempts for Bryce Young. Next prop, we're going Sam Darnold. We hit it last week. I told you guys to look into some alts for Sam. We're going over the 249.5 pass yards. Listen, it's rather simple. Sam Darnold is a top 5 quarterback when he doesn't get pressure. When he gets pressure, he's a bottom 5 quarterback in this league. The Bears just aren't getting pressure on quarterbacks. Let's make it simple. Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson, over for Sam Darnold. Next prop, we got Adam Thielen, over 52.5 wide receiving yards. Listen, I wanted to go catches just to be safe here because in his later years, he does lack explosion. But like over 4.5 was like minus 140, and we're not doing that. We're going over the 52.5 receiving yards. He's playing really good, man, and he's going to be operating in the slot, and the Cowboys have had issues there the whole year. Over the 52.5, he's going to be the main beneficiary of Bryce Young's pass attempts. Also, Leggett with a lot of drops. Tommy Tremble, do we rely on? Do we even know if Coker's going to play? Give me the over 52.5 for Adam Thielen. Last prop of the week, we got Jaden Daniels over 40.5 rushing yards. The Saints have been bad against the run the whole year. Jaden Daniels off a bye week. I think they'll go read option, and the Brian Robinson props were just too much for me to really sink my teeth into. Plus, they don't want to wear him down. They're looking for the playoff run. They're looking for the playoff stretch. You got Eckler. You got Rodriguez coming in strong. So I lay off on the Brian Robinson, but let's go Jaden Daniels. And listen, Jaden Daniels has had 30, 40, 50-yard carries this year, and all he really needs to do is break one. And I think we get between 7 and 10 attempts, and that makes me think the 40.5 is low. Like I said, coming off a bye week, coming in hot against a team struggling to stop the run with very, very little to play for. Give me Jaden Daniels over the 40.5 rush yards. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. The best gambling show on the internet, the home of the damn money pit.